మీది
Good afternoon, friends. Hi, this is Jayashree Mavle. Welcome to on behalf of 80 Schools of Management Learning Resource Center and BTC Knowledge Network. Library is a beautiful window to a larger world. Libraries preserve the energy that fuels the imagination. They open up doors to the world and inspire us to explore, achieve, and contribute to improving our quality life. This quote, we all gathered here today for an international webinar on librarianship and beyond, stories from the United Kingdom, by our resource person, Dr. James Fernandez, Academic Support Manager and Subject Librarian, University of West London. Before we start the session, I would like to request our KET Professor P.K. Mishra sir kindly address the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jayashree madam. Thank you very much. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Professor P.K. Mishra, Associate Professor of Kohinoor Business School. I am associated with Kohinoor Group since last 16 years. I welcome all the participants here in this thoroughly stimulating workshop or webinar, so to say. Library has been always very close to my heart since my childhood. I have been associated with libraries, British libraries, and then Khudabakhsh libraries, and a lot of libraries. My greetings to our today's resource person, Dr. Janice Fernandez as well, who is an accomplished librarian and expert in the field. We shall get to know many more things from her today. I believe library is the spinal cord of any educational system. It gravitates researchers, academicians, students, and all seekers of knowledge. And at present, we are living in a very interesting times where a lot of disruptions are happening all around. Innovations are at all-time high, and the technology is ruling our minds over matter. library cannot be untouched with these developments. I'm curious to know how the librarians world over, or the librarianship as such as a competence, is going to face this kind of challenges, global challenges. And it will be nice to see and nice to hear from the expert herself. Librarianship, to my mind, is a vital skill, though a bit underrated. And if an analogy has to be drawn, because I am seeing my librarian, Jayashree Mavle, and from my earlier employer also, it's a bit of an underrated skill. I don't know why. It reminds me of a wicketkeeper in a cricket match. A wicketkeeper is supposed to take all the balls. Every time he has to be very, very careful. But even if one mistake is there, and the wicketkeeper is all over. So it is extremely vital, but I think it is my personal opinion. It is an under-acknowledged domain. I think I'm not an expert of library or librarianship. And I think I should not consume much time also. I hand it over again to Jayashree Mavle Madam to continue the proceedings. And I wish this webinar all the success. And I am pretty sure at the end of it, we shall have some worthwhile takeaway to ponder with. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. And all the best to everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Puljit to say a few words about BKC Knowledge Net. Over to you, Puljit. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Hello. Hope I'm audible to all.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Very good afternoon, one and all present for today's webinar. So as you all are aware about BKC Knowledge Network. So BKC Knowledge Network is a resource sharing and networking initiative amongst the information and knowledge management professional working in the around Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai. And this association was started in the year 2006 with the great librarian from RBI, NAVARD, and others in the geographical area. But now it's not limited only BKC, but it's now spread in across the Mumbai. And Ms. Sushma Karnika ma'am and Vasundhara Deshpande have taken this association to the next level to reach to all the across the Mumbai. And the main objective of BKC Knowledge Network are to provide a common platform for professionals working in the libraries and knowledge sharing area to interact with each and sharing our thoughts, innovation, and the others practices for our professional. The facilitates networking amongst information and library field. This association is actively participation in the different activities like workshop, webinars, and current topic event for year after year. Facilities areas also sharing the resources. Library is the unique of the BKC Knowledge Network to the librarian, for the librarian, and by the librarian. And we, as a team of BKC, we are, request to everyone, the youngster librarian professional, to come forward and, spread the more publicity of the BKC for the overall development of our library professional. So this is volunteer association. They don't have any financial involvement for this. We are conducting the event with the host institute, and we are welcoming all the institute for conducting any type of activity in their host institute. So that's all about from the BKC. So over to you, Yashri.
Thank you, Puljit. Now I would like to request our Professor Leena Barsikar ma'am to introduce our today's guest speaker.
Thank you, Deshti ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I take this privilege of introducing our guest speaker for the day, Dr. Janice Fernandez. Dr. Janice Fernandez is currently working as Academic Support Manager and Subject Librarian at the University of West London. She designs and delivers information literacy sessions, physical and online, both in a classroom setting as well as personal sessions. These are focused on critical reviews, different formats, kernel pillars, and correct referencing and academic integrity. She also has a managerial role and enjoys them both. Dr. Janice has a fulfilling experience of over 33 years as a librarian. She has 5 degrees and years of research and mentoring with innovative ideas. She has recently acquired a qualification from the Fellow of Higher Education Academy, UK. She has over 18 research papers to her credit on varied topics from librarianship to technology to human resources and research. Some of her noteworthy papers are based on topics like the era of innovation, stress management, user expectations, services in UK libraries, and recruitment in the UK. She has 2 Best Paper awards and has been invited to speak at the American Consulate, among other important institutions. In her spare time, she enjoys reading, gardening, and playing with her cat. Now, I once again welcome and request Dr. Janice ma'am to address the audience. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome. It's an honor and a joy to be here with you all. Afternoon in your part of the world and late morning in my part of the world. The weather not really good here, so I guess it's probably much the same as you, raining today. But I would like to begin by saying all that has been read about me, I think somewhere is a staircase or steps of a ladder. When I look back and I look at the first step of my ladder and I look at where I actually began, it's nice to look back and think about those things, but miles to go before you sleep. And so there are steps up as well. Without further ado, let me share my screen and put my presentation up. I hope you can see that, all of you. And let me just begin my slideshow. There is going to be a scope for interaction later on. And I hope you are making a note of what you would like to ask me. I'm just trying to get stuff. Sorry. Okay. That's better, I think. So what I'm going to be speaking about is just 5 of these points. Librarianship, the role, libraries, the students, continuous professional development, some suggestions, and 3 important lessons. I'm sure there's something I did, which is why I can't move this. Oh, okay, that's better. So the very basics of librarianship. I am aware of the fact that not all of you are very much there. In fact, none of us are really very much there. We are on this path. So no matter where you are on this roadway, there is always a personal development linked to professional development. And that is something I would like you to remember. The basics of librarianship as providing access to information, its discovery, its evaluation, and ethical use. I think this is going to come in the way of my presentation, and I do not know why that should come. So three very basic type of libraries in the UK. Academic libraries, which include school, college, what we call here as A-level, and university libraries. Then very strong public libraries, which are actually your first point of contact when you come into the country. And I experienced this. So this is now part of my story of the UK. So when I got into the country 7 years ago, the first thing I was told is go to the public library and get a library card. The public library gives you everything you might need when you step into the country. So access to online services, Wi-Fi, photocopy, printing, searching for jobs, how to make a CV, lots of career stuff and stuff for different age groups. It was my first experience of seeing libraries being utilized so well in the UK. The third aspect of libraries is special libraries, and these are clinical, like you have very strong NHS libraries, run by charities like Wellcome Trust, lots of legal libraries, political libraries. The House of Commons has a really large library, lots of those. I am also now looking at the various roles that are advertised for librarians. We do a lot of things. We still just call ourselves librarians. And this is a concept, obviously, which is not new. We have been talking about it for a couple of years now. I am actually seeing it being implemented here in the UK very strongly. So, for example, I am a subject librarian, and I handle the School of Music and Drama in the University of West London, which comes under the London College of Music. I am also an academic support manager. So I manage 3 schools. We call them schools. They're actually disciplines. So the College of Computing and Engineering, the College of Nursery, Midwifery and Healthcare, and the music one. So there are 3 large schools. Posts are advertised for reading list librarian, a librarian whose only task is to create reading lists across schools and colleges for that university. Very specific job. Publishing technologies librarian, digital resources manager, open access manager. At the place where I work, we have librarians who do very specific tasks like acquisitions, content and scholarly communications, open research. So varied roles under this umbrella of librarianship. In public libraries, the head of a public library is normally a library manager. The difference being, in a public library, you do not need a librarian qualification. You do need a basic degree. However, what public libraries look for very strongly is experience. So you might have worked in any other sector, the airlines, hospitality, tourism, anything which gave you transferable skills, customer experience skills, which you can utilize at the front desk of a public library. When I first came into the country, the first job that I got was actually in a public library, and I worked in a public library going up for a number of years. I found the public library environment very different from academic libraries because you looked at customers of all age groups, and they had different needs, but it was amazing to interact with them. I also did a lot of outreach work. So you go out to schools and colleges, you go out into community groups, you go and talk to people about what librarianship has. And you also have very, very specific stuff like weekend librarians. And I was really surprised to see that as well. Of course, special libraries have roles like curator or archivist or a clinical librarian. I have friends who work in the large prisons and they are prison librarians. Applying for a job in a UK library. I must have done, I don't know how many applications before I reached to where I am, or even in the first process, many of them. You don't get disillusioned by the process because the process is lengthy. The application form, first and foremost, the application form is many pages. You end up writing and rewriting the same experience and repackaging what you have in various ways to answer the questions that are set up for you. So application forms have basic experience, basic requirements, and a couple of questions, and you need to answer them. They're tricky sometimes because whether you are called for an interview or not depends on how well you will write that. It is a skill. And I actually learned academic writing. I learned critical thinking, and I learned reflective practice through writing those supporting statements for jobs. So the basic qualifications for an academic librarian is a basic degree and a professional qualification. Strangely, a public library needs, like you can see the text on the screen, I picked this up from a very recent advert for a library manager at Balham Library. And you could Google that and find that out. It says you'll ideally come from a library background and have previous experience of managing staff, but it'll be your enthusiasm for helping others that makes you really stand out. So they will ask you lots of examples, and they will ask you to provide evidence of how you helped people. That's what public libraries want. With regard to knowledge and experience, you do need experience with whatever core area you will be handling. Say, for example, scholarly communications and copyright issues, and maybe teaching information literacy and some of those aspects. And then special libraries, and I think everyone needs some sort of these very special skills. So you need communication skills and IT skills. That's without a doubt. Time management, proactivity, that's without a doubt. You don't need, but they always look for volunteering experience. I have been on a number of panels for recruitment now, and I always look for volunteering. The concept in the UK being that if you can give of your time and talent in a place which does not pay you, then that ranks high. It was a very different concept for me because, we always tend to associate work with money as a basic thing. What will I get paid for if I do this? And I sometimes think, are we still in that box? Are we still in that box where we are just equating your effort with money? Sometimes what you get out of doing a project may not be money, it may be many other things. Something to think about. And of course, we look for leadership, a good team player, being proactive, being innovative. I look for, and it is a question in your application form, CPD, which is continuous professional development. What have you done to develop yourself professionally is a question which is asked at every interview across the sectors in the UK, not just for librarianship. If you do not grow, you stagnate. So what have you done to grow? And the other very strong aspect that we are looking at is EDI, which is equality and diversity and inclusion. Maybe concepts not so prominent in the East, but in the West, we are very much aware of whatever we do has to be inclusive to everyone. The person might be physically disabled, might be mentally challenged, might have various learning disabilities, might have various mental health issues, yet whatever you plan should include all the spectrum of people. We call them neurodiverse or neurodivergent. So whatever you plan, whatever project you undertake, whatever facilities you provide, whatever services you provide, has to take into account all the spectrum of people. It is a concept that I was not familiar with. In India, we have 3 hours for an examination, and you work your way, you sit for 3 hours and write that exam. In the UK, if you are diagnosed as having any of these neurodiverse issues, you are allowed to take rest breaks, you are allowed to go out and walk and come back, you are allowed to maybe have somebody to write for you if you need a writer, or maybe you will use a computer rather than a paper to submit your exam. Various adjustments, they're called reasonable adjustments, but adjustments which are made taking into consideration neurodiverse population. I'm just going to stop this sharing and come back to this because that's better. So as I mentioned earlier, the application, I'm just putting all these things into perspective so that you realize the analogy between your country and where I am now, and to realize the differences. And maybe things might be better your side or better this side, but please take the best of both worlds if you are in a position to recruit people, or if you are in a post which recruits more staff. So the application form, as I mentioned, is does not need a CV at all. So we don't look for CVs. You have to go through HR basically. So you fill up an application form. I am currently recruiting for the post of subject librarian at for the College of Nursing and Midwifery. So I am the chair in that post, and I have 2 panel members with me. whoever wants to apply normally gets between 2 to 2.5 weeks. You go through the whole process, and then we do a shortlisting, and then we will invite for interviews. Some of the things which are different is online interview is possible. The panel always has to be diverse. So you must have male and female members and people of different ethnicities. At UWL, we have started this trend of supplying to the candidate 50% of the interview questions, because it is obviously not possible to answer so many questions back to back. And we thought it's not a memory test. It's a much easier encounter. So talk to us instead of a presentation. So some of the roles, obviously you have to make a presentation and come and present before the interview. So you get 10 minutes to do a presentation. Sometimes we say we don't want a presentation, but talk to us about 4 points about something. So the interview is looked at as a chat. We are also decreasing the number of questions we would ask. So we earlier did like 12 questions. We are now doing between 6 and 8. And we think between 6 and 8 questions is good enough to judge if the candidate fits into that role. We are asking for more experiences or lived examples. So a number of questions actually start like this. Tell us of a time when you used your leadership skills to, or tell us of a time when you were a good team player. Tell us of a time when you had a challenging project and within deadlines. Some of the other questions are, what do you think of? So what do you think of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT? What do you think of the concept of no fines in academic libraries? Some of those questions. When the interview is done and when the candidate is selected, we have an induction process, a properly documented process of 2 to 3 weeks. And I remember mine when I joined, it was a slot by slot, daily and weekly series of tasks. And it was very systematic and very methodical. So getting access, housekeeping facilities. Sorry, I will keep having these. Sharing information, learning technologies, meeting people across the university. And there is constant review and feedback. And I think the feedback is what we feeds back into the system, so that for the next candidates, things are much better than the previous one. So roles and responsibilities. So your basic role, and now I am now looking at just at the post of librarian as maybe a academic liaison librarian or a subject librarian. Along with your basic role that you do, you are responsible for subject guides, which is a link to all the information that is required for students studying your subject. Large universities have many different subjects or disciplines, and therefore many librarians. At UWL, we have a team of around 11 subject librarians only. So that's one team. And we have various other teams like that. We get feedback from the National Student Survey. So students at the end of an academic year will fill up these surveys and give us feedback, and we consider it very important. If we are number 1 in the UK today for a number of things, and if we are the best for student experience, and we have all of these, we are called as the career university, it is based on the results of the National Students Survey. It is also based on the results of the MES or the module evaluation survey. So students fill up a survey form at the end of every semester, and that's one module. Lots of research going into it, and obviously lots of a very democratic process of budgets and purchases. Besides this, we have very specific tasks. So when the school board sits into a meeting, and that is everybody who is involved in that discipline, like say you would say engineering or maybe IT or one of those very specific schools, the subject librarian is always invited to these meetings. The subject librarian is also invited to course committee meetings. So a particular course, modules are the bits that go inside a course. So when there's a course meeting, the librarian has to be there for that. You get direct feedback from students about what you need to change or what works very well for them. There are also other groups, like you might be a part of the reading list group. I am a part of the inclusive reading list working group. Lots of train the trainer sessions. So we have sessions for teachers. We call them academics. We have sessions for teachers at the beginning of every semester. So we will teach the teacher how to use the database, and the teacher can then show students. And we also deliver one-to-one sessions, either for the teacher or for the students. So students will either email us or they will send us a message, or they will chat and they will ask for specific sessions. So this is the support that we provide for dissertations, for literature review, for searching and finding information, for referencing. And I do a lot of these. Last semester, I did more than 40 of the one-to-one sessions. And then there are some of these must-do things. You have to have a set of goals for your job appraisal. Job appraisals come up in August, and I have mine actually at the end of this week. And I have to set for myself 5 goals that I am going to accomplish within the year. It's nice because these goals are not given to you. You decide on them yourself, and this forms the base of your professional development. Also, the form for job appraisal has got things like what learning outcomes you want. So something very simple, like I may want to be more proficient in Excel. You could put down, I want to meet all the teachers of a particular course and have more interaction with them. I may want to present a paper at a conference. All of these options. At UWL Library, we also have something called bite size. So anyone who goes out to a conference will come back and share that information with others. We have a 30-minute session, maybe once in 2 months or so, and it's called bite size. So any new knowledge you have gained, you share with other staff across the library through this thing called bite size. I have also developed something called My Space, which is we set aside 2 hours every Wednesday morning, twice a month, for you to move away from your desk to sit in another space and just focus on your professional development. So you may want to listen to a webinar, you may want to participate in something else, you may want to read more information about something, you may want to design a presentation, anything that is for your professional development. And I have got this idea from something called, we had a series of sessions through SILIP, and it was called Shut Up and Write. It was an amazing concept because it was 2 hours allocated where you sit somewhere away from your desk for 2 hours, don't talk, just write what you're supposed to do. And I loved this idea because all those who are studying for PhD or any other professional qualification will know how difficult it is to manage your time along with your personal and professional qualifications and then try and do something else. So this concept has been taken up very well with staff. We also have an annual festival of learning and teaching. This is something that I found very different from what we had, what I saw back in India. We have in India an annual day, more like a cultural day. But here we also had a festival of learning and teaching where people presented. So there were various sessions in various rooms, and it was like a proper festival. But it was amazing because it gave you some direction and it gave you something to look forward to. And of course, there are professional qualifications like FHEA, the Fellowship of the Higher Education Academy, which I have recently acquired, as well as MSilip, that is the Masters in Silip, which is an equivalent. Just 3 lessons in this presentation, and this is lesson number 1. And it goes back to the recruitment bit. Secure good talent through collaboration, not competition. Whenever we try to secure talent, whether it might be voluntary or whether it might be paid, keep in mind that they are not our competitors. Collaboration and teamwork is one of the essential ingredients of a successful library. It might be a library with 2 people. It doesn't have to be a library with 40 staff. But collaboration is the key. Moving from staff in librarianship, I now come to students. What we do to support students as a consequence of being a librarian. The basic and elementary thing what we have in academic libraries across the UK is a system of reading list. So reading list is a list of resources, print and online, which are selected for the student and put together into a list. The selection is done by the teacher and the librarian together. The resources are purchased by the librarian and put into a list from where they can be made accessible through one click. So if you can see view online, if you click on view online, the ebook opens up. So these lists are divided as essential, recommended, and further reading. Further reading often has links to really nice websites, what the teachers want their students to read. I'm sure we have a sort of an informal system in India. It would be nice to integrate it into a more formal thing. And of course, this can be done just using simple web pages or hyperlinks as well. Some of these are often arranged weekly. So it's very much documented that in week 1, this is what we're going to cover. These are the learning outcomes. In week 2, week 3. And we have learning environments. So what we have is Blackboard, but different universities have different learning environments. I think learning environment is a concept which has come in strongly because of COVID in various countries across the world. And I'm sure that students at a much younger age today are exposed to learning environments. The other one that we have is Perlego. So this is an expensive resource, but this is a resource we have made available to students. More than 1 million ebooks available. There are free trials. So you can always use this, start a free trial and use Perlego. It has access to 1 million ebooks, covers more than 900 disciplines, both print and, only electronic, but both fiction and academic. And it is called as the Spotify for textbooks. I put on Perlego India and I got more than 10,000 results for it. it showed me the first 1 to 36 on the screen. Just like all other ebooks, Perlego has all of those features that allows referencing and citation and note-taking, highlighting, all of those options. So LibSearch. LibSearch is the Google of UWL University. And I'm sure each of you have got your own discovery tool as well. So it's a discovery tool, which is the interface between the user and your catalog. So our catalog is in Koha, and we subscribe to LibSearch through EBSCOhost, which is the front end. It's got filters, and it's got lots of options, and easy to browse. However, some of my important interactions with students are at this end, where they will often come and say, I can't find anything in the library on my topic of research, or there is nothing in the library on my topic of research. So I think the skill of a librarian is at this point, where we show them how to search effectively, efficiently, and more focused, so as they get the results that they want. Sometimes they may look for a book, but do you think a student would read a whole book? Sometimes they want a chapter in a book, and even that students would not read. They want specific information, a paragraph which tells them why this happens and how it can be changed. Something very, very specific. And of course, there are filters, much like how you would shop through Amazon and use filters to narrow down your search results. Some of the many databases we subscribe, I've pulled a mixture, but I think being a business school, I'm sure that Kohinoor subscribes to a number of these, and I have seen a number of them as well. MarketLine, ProQuest, EBSCO, and of course, since I am a music librarian, I have a large number of music databases, Oxford Music Online being one of the important ones. Along with that, we also subscribe to something which is for referencing authentically. So we subscribe to something called Cite Them Right, which is a database that shows students, which helps students how to cite correctly. Plagiarism being one of those very important concepts that students are vaguely aware of and yet struggle with. I think this becomes important at this point. And of course, Turnitin is a part of their assignments. So students submit their assignments electronically. They can put their assignment through Turnitin. They can check the similarity, and they can paraphrase and summarize again and decrease the percentage of similarity and submit again. So a student is allowed multiple submissions. Some of the learning environments that we have. So like I was talking to you about Blackboard. So Blackboard is exactly as the name suggests, the interface where the teacher can write and the student can see what's written. Along with that, the librarian can also write, or administrative staff can also write. So it is basically a means of communication. But Blackboard has more than just that. So teachers will upload videos or presentations or links to various other resources. Librarians can also upload presentations. And all of this environment is available to the students. We have Koha, and of course, I told you about EBSCOhost. What we also have is Inspire Advisor, which has a bit that I use, which is called Civitas. So Civitas actually tracks the student progression. So it says how a student is likely to progress to the next level based on the interactions. So whatever communication the teacher has with the student is recorded in Civitas. Whatever communication the librarian has with the student on a formal basis. When I say formal, I mean those one-to-one sessions or maybe very detailed emails are all recorded. The feedback is important, not from the point of view of university only, because they need the statistics. I find this very useful because I can pull out data and see in the last 6 months how many students I have spoken to. So if I have spoken to 40 students on an average of 60 minutes per student, I can calculate, and then I have some data which I can actually put forward in a report. When we often talk of a lot of systems not being justified, I think it is because we do not get feedback to that. If we had feedback, then it would be easier to justify what you do. Something you can think about. You do not need expensive systems. You could even record these things in a simple Excel worksheet. But I think we have to get to this concept of recording feedback. And I remember Professor Mishra, when he said at the beginning that the librarian is a wicket keeper. I think it is the librarian himself or herself who considers themselves as the wicket keeper. Why do we not consider ourselves as the batsman? Because we are the ones running the information field, because we are the ones who are providing that support. We are the ones who decide how many people are going to be on the boundary in terms of what facilities or services we are providing to students. But we do not document this. We do not put it into a report. We do not send this report out to various sections of the university, and hence people don't realize what we do. This concept of, oh, the librarian is just behind a desk and just issues and returns books. I think that needs to change. So here is lesson number 2. Not always the cost, but the evidence of impact that drives decisions. When I was tasked with buying a new library management system, or I was asked for my opinion on a library management system, I put some evidence together. And it is easy to pull out evidence from various other departments. If you go to enrollment, you will get the number of students who have enrolled for, say, one course. Look at all the courses, you will get the total number of students in the university. At some point, you will be able to get the total number of active students in the university. Find out the number of academics in the university. That is your user base. Evidence all of that. Pull out some data from subscriptions, pull out some data from circulation, try and find out footfall, put all this together. If you put it all together, you will be able to evidence the impact. Sometimes we don't go ahead to buy something new because the general refrain is, management will not give us the money. Management will say it is very expensive. But have you ever thought of putting evidence together and making your case so strong that management has to go ahead with it? Give it a thought. I now come to the third part, which is continuous professional development. As I said before, this is something that we are constantly thinking about at the back of our mind, but I think the general refrain is, I don't have time. Well, I don't have time. actually. However, here I am. I am a person in two roles, and yet I have found the time to put my thoughts together into a presentation, and here I am presenting before you. I have managed to find the time. I'm looking at continuous professional development in three aspects now: university-based, department-based, and individual-based. And as you can see, my individual-based list is longer. You know why. So, in terms of the University of West London, we have two large departments. One is called the Learning and Organizational Development, and the other one is called the Center for Enhancement of Learning Technologies. And both of these constantly keep track of what professional development we do. So we have CPD forms. We fill up, just put in a line every time you do something new. And at the end of the year, you can pull out a whole list of all you have done. CPD is asked for at every interview, whether you are coming into the university or you are moving laterally across departments or you are moving higher up, in all universities in the UK and in most workplaces in the UK. CPD is also asked for at your job appraisals. CPD is asked for every time you talk to when you have your monthly meetings with your line manager. So we have monthly meetings with our line manager, and we have to speak about CPD. When you join, you have something called essential skills. So you have to complete all those courses like GDPR and basic things like, say, maybe fire safety, or maybe mental health, or any of those things. And those are repeated every year. Okay? So basic essential skills that you need to know. Now, on the basis of departments, and now I'm only looking at the library as a department, but every other department has got a lot of these things as well. So I spoke about the UWL Festival of Learning and Teaching. All the staff in the library have to join one of the many groups that we have. And I am a part of the training and development group. So just yesterday, we did a session where we had 2 lecturers from the acting course come and teach us about voice. How do you speak when you speak online or when you speak in front of an audience? They also told us that presenting is basically like a performance. You are performing. And there were really good hints, really good ideas that we got from that interaction. We are also thinking of speaking to a lecturer in the psychology department who can come and talk to us about the psychology of students. So to understand what would be the psychology of a student who comes to the front desk to borrow a book. What are they thinking of? And I think all of this is free to do, friends. It does not require much. All it needs is coordination. Each of you in your own workplaces has got a wealth of information. There are people who have professional qualifications in that field. So they might be like a certified yoga trainer, or they might have very specific knowledge, say, about stress management. So tap into these resources. All the library needs to do is increase visibility. You must be the vehicle that can coordinate these aspects. With regard to individuals, we have set up an English social cafe for students for whom English is the second language. The social cafe is very popular and it's great fun. I go to this because I like to talk to students who come from India and who speak many other languages. But we have many other teachers who come in, who are from other parts of the world, and it's a very good interaction. We have concept of mentor and mentee. Can we mute, please? Can we mute? Thank you. So we have a concept of mentor-mentee. So I have a staff from the customer experience team who is an apprentice who's at the front desk, and I mentor him. So I just support him. He comes out with ideas. He comes out with projects. I will just support him. I will just help him to maybe draft a good email. I will support him to with some tech coordination. I will maybe direct him to somebody who knows more about it. And I would just be a mentor. We have subscription to LinkedIn Learning, but I think a lot of LinkedIn Learning is free as well. Besides that, I think the internet is a wealth of resources. As long as you evaluate and know where you can find it a good resource, there is a lot to be learned. I attended this conference called the WEN conference, which is Women in Higher Education Network. You might think, well, I'm a woman and I attend the conference, and the university paid for this conference for me. So obviously it is something that is a part of the university's mission and goals as well. But it provided me direction. It helped me to see where I was, where I need to go. It helped me to chart my goals so that I am not overambitious, but also that my goals are reasonable. I connected with music librarians across academic libraries in the UK for a virtual get-together. And we put ideas forward, and there was a lot of interaction that happened. It is obviously an ongoing thing, but I set the beginning for that. We have a number of music scores. Of course, we all do shelving and we all do cataloging and classifying. Music scores are very different because they come in different shapes and sizes. They're just sometimes sheet music, so just one page. And it's very difficult to shelve them in a way in which it can be retrieved easily. So I am working with another staff from another team to recatalog, maybe reclassify, and to reshelve these. So we've changed the whole system. We still go by DDC, but we have put them into different groups. So it is more easier to find these. And when I spoke about this project at the Music Librarians Get Together, there was a librarian who came back and said that they were thinking about the same thing. And hence we had another interaction, and it is just basically sharing of knowledge. In the UK, there is a lot of work being done on Black studies. A lot of work also being done on sustainability, and we have a sustainability group in the library. So our library is comprised of 3 floors, and we have printers on all the floors, and printing is free. So students print and print. And most of that is just left there because they aren't in need of it anymore. So we're going to get to be this sustainable thing we've put a sticker on the printer that says, you know, before you print, stop, think, do you really need to print this? Often we could do with the electronic version. Why do we cut so many trees and waste paper? So this is just one of those thoughts, but sustainability goes far beyond all of it. So it's also saving of your natural resources like water or maybe electricity, and it goes a lot into that as well. I think one of the other things that we have that we are looking into is when you are on an email group and you get some information, and then everybody says thank you for the information, and you are adding to people's mailbox. So sustainability is also looking into that. And we have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter, which is called Announcements. And anything that we want to announce about the library goes into that newsletter, which goes to every student and every staff in the university. Now I talk a little more about your own development. When I spoke, so it's an extension of the previous slide. I've just put together a few things that you may have done or could do, but something to think about. I'm happy to share this presentation, and I will send it to Jayashri, and she can then disseminate it. And I hope that you can use some information from this slide. We're talking a lot about artificial intelligence, and we're talking about ChatGPT. And I did a couple of slides, and I did some presentation for international students in China about the differences between ChatGPT and what you can find through your library's search engine. Sustainable libraries, like I spoke about, and we are also looking at strengthening our knowledge base of the chatbot. More recent advances, and this is a concept that got more stronger when I came to the UK. So when you teach information literacy in a classroom, how do you get feedback from students? You could do a Google survey, but there was something called Poll Everywhere. There was something called Mentimeter. And so I did some training, and I learned more about these things. There are things which are free to use. You can use Poll Everywhere anywhere. So it would be a good concept to use as well. In terms of accessibility, accessibility is another concept. Like I spoke about neurodivergence, and I spoke about disabilities. We have a universal design of learning, things that we've not spoken about or we've not thought about. Often when I look at student presentations, I sometimes see either you have a lot of text on the screen. Apologies, this screen is not very good because it does have too much text. But 6 words in a line and maybe 5 lines in 5 rows is a good enough thing. Less is more. So understanding what's a universal design of learning, understanding which fonts, which colors, which text size works best for students, understanding how text comes on the screen. Should it fly? Should it jump? Understanding what students of dyslexia or ADHD feel when they look at a presentation, and then wondering whether we can provide audio visual support. We are now thinking when we have an image, we must talk about the image. We must explain the image so that it is easier for people to look at an image, but understand why you put the image in the first place. I recently attended a lunchtime seminar from SILIP. It was a 1-hour thing on reflective writing. So it had the concept of what happened, so what happened, now what happened, and then what you're going to do about it. It was a very nice a way of reflection, and it would be very helpful for any qualifications like FHEA, where FHEA is all about reflective writing. I am also an assessor for the FHEA now. So basically, I assess applications that come for the fellowship qualification. So I have seen the range of reflective writings, and I think that seminars like this are really useful. And of course, personal development. I did a number of courses on time management, conflict negotiation, coaching, stress management, all of these things. Some of the certifications that I received, We did a lot of training through March Training and Development. And the lady, Dr. Anna James, does some really good sessions, and we were really happy and we benefited a lot from that. In all of this, when I speak about personal development, one of the concepts that I would like to stress on is having a buddy. I hope my buddy is on this call today, because I would like to, at this point, make a very special mention and express my gratitude to Dr. Parita Desai, who is the librarian of Raheja College, but has been my buddy in my all of my educational ventures. So we basically did all of our studies together, right from the basic qualification to our doctorate. And I think having a buddy to motivate you is really amazing. So when you think of some task where you think, I can't do this alone, try and find someone else who has the same interest. And if you have someone like a buddy with you, I remember through my doctorate, I would speak to Parita most nights and sort of say, where have you reached? How many chapters? How many words? What was the progress today? Literally a day-to-day progress. And it helped having someone to motivate you, someone to understand you. And I think together we achieved more. I would definitely say, for all of you who are struggling to do something and just not having the time or inclination or support, find a buddy. It's very easy to even go on to mailing lists. That's what we normally have. We have a mailing list, and people would just put out a query saying, I'm trying to do some research in this. Is there anyone else interested in this? And you will have people replying, and that's how you make buddies. They don't have to be physically close to you. They could be anywhere in the world, but you would have someone with whom you can communicate and connect in some way. Some suggestions, and if you can, if you look, I have put it as I can. So ICAN. Some suggestions, and I would always say improve visibility. People should see you. People should see your library. People should see your work. When was the last time that you changed a notice on your notice board? When was the last time that you put out a new book as having come in? When was the last time that you sent an email to your users and spoke about something new? When was the last time that you have organized a guest lecture or an event or a book exhibition or something? Why do we do book exhibitions only once a year? Why can't we do smaller and more focused in-house tasks? How can we work at bringing non-users into the library? There is a lot to think about, and there is a lot that you can do. When you think about visibility in terms of librarianship, volunteering is a very strong aspect as well. I know that a number of you might be solo librarians. You might be the only person handling the library. So it's probably not possible for you to leave the library and go and volunteer in any other department. However, you could provide support by saying, for example, if they were doing like, especially when you have companies that come in for recruitment, I'm talking engineering, but often you have companies that come in for recruitment. Can you prepare a quick bibliography of career guides and put it up somewhere there very strategically? Can you volunteer maybe for somewhere and to give a small talk or something? Collect statistics, document, prepare reports, take risks. Evidence the impact of the library in your institution. If you think that in your institution, people don't look at the library or don't consider the library to be important, I think in some ways you yourself are responsible for that general feeling. And of course, neurodivergence, be more inclusive. the base for my librarianship for the last 33 years, the base for all that I do and attempt to do has always been Ranganathan's 5 laws of library science. And I reiterate this in every talk or presentation that I give, that whatever you aim to do, the user has to be at the center of your conversation, whether it is purchases, whether it is facilities, whether it is services, whether it is organizing an event. Put the user at the center of your conversation. I have seen many things being successful only because we said, oh, actually students won't come. So how do we make them to come? And then that changes the focus of your thoughts, changes your thought process. So ensure that when you plan something, you put the user at the center of every conversation. I hope I am able to motivate you to think not what can I do, but what I can do. When you think of what can I do, there is a lot you can say. The weather is rubbish today. The government is bad. My roads have potholes. The bus is late. The trains are an hour late today. Lots of things we can do. And of course, in terms of people, my managers aren't good, my colleagues aren't good, my workspace is cramped, and I can't stretch my legs, and my computer is always very old, lots of things. But if you think in terms of what I can do, I'm sure there's a lot you can do. Each of us is equipped with talent, knowledge, skills. Each of us is unique. And I'm sure that there is something that you know that others don't know. What we are waiting for is to hear from you about it. I just have a slide to show you what the UWL library looks like. So the top image is above the 3 floors of the library. We have seating spaces. We have spaces for group discussion. This was a concept I was very much opposed to initially, because I always consider libraries to be quiet spaces. However, we have learned to differentiate and create spaces which are quiet, but create spaces which allow for whispered study or allow for group discussion. If space permitting, you can do that in your library. I'm sure that would bring in more users. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present here today and to add value to the profession. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So now I would like to request Nita Malik, ma'am, to take a question answer session.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, first question is, can I apply to librarian in UK?
I don't think there is any problem with applying to be a librarian in the UK. The issue probably would be with your visa or your work. That is something I think you would have to look at the High Commission's website for. I am sure that there are a number of people who are here on Indian passports and work, so I don't see that as an issue. You would have to, of course, consider all of those costs, because obviously it would be your costs of coming and staying in the UK, and you might think that the salary does not justify all of those costs. But other than that, in terms of qualifications, I don't think it would be a problem if you were asking about that. I had an issue, strangely, when I came into the UK, that most people at interviews asked me whether I had any experience of working in academic libraries in the UK. However, I could not get that experience because obviously no one was offering me that experience. And strangely, I applied to one university 3 times. I was interviewed by them 3 times. All 3 times they said that I was excellent. There was nothing that was wrong with the way I did the interview. The only point being that I did not have experience in the UK, which was like a catch-22 situation. However, I worked in public libraries, so I used transferable skills, and that might help.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. The second question is, what are the diversity and inclusive practices followed?
I think it starts from the recruitment. Okay, so
Okay.
I am currently recruiting, and HR will not send me the names or addresses of the candidates. So it is anonymized shortlisting.
Okay.
When you go on ahead, inclusivity comes in terms of at the panel at the interview will be mixed. So there will be people of different diversities. There will be male and female. There will be European and non-European people in the panel. Once you are in the job, all the practices are very inclusive for everyone. So there is no differentiation either for a staff or for a student. So you are very aware when you speak that you do not use terms or that are seemed derogatory for people. So you would not say fat people, or you would not, what we normally might think is very normal, or we would laugh it off, can cause a lot of stress to someone. So being aware of what might cause stress for people. I was supporting a student who had dyslexia. And when he was doing his dissertation, he always wrote the words in reverse. So he did not say, I do not. He said, I not do. Throughout his dissertation, but he told me he was dyslexic. So we supported him more. We have a well-being team, and the well-being team helps them to understand where they're going wrong. So there is a lot of support and scaffolding in place.
Thank you, ma'am. This third question is, could you share your what happens in the English social cafe?
Oh, of course. That is really fun. That's really fun because there are simple games. So today, this concept of what we call gamification, so using games to teach, has become very strong in the UK. I use a number of games when I'm teaching information literacy. And in the English social cafe, they teach you English through games. So maybe what's the word in your language for a particular concept or something of that sort, or maybe coming out and speaking. But there is always tea, coffee, and muffins. And you sit in small groups and you talk to people about maybe your country, your family, your life back home, or things like that. When I worked in the public library, I got a funding of £5,000 from the National Acquisition Group for a project that I had put forward to teach English to Urdu speaking women. So when I worked in a place, it was in Roehampton, and it was typically English. So there weren't any Asian community there. And so these Urdu women, they took their children to school, but because they didn't know English, they had to take their children with them everywhere. Their children knew English. So to the doctor, to the pharmacy, to the library, everywhere they had to bring their children because they didn't know English. So I started this, I got funding, and we had these women come and sit in small groups, and we taught them English. We got from the charity, we got, of course, a teacher, but it is an amazing concept. And I think there is always so much more that you can learn in the language.
Very interesting, ma'am. The next question is, how would the library deal with chat GTP content copy paste habits?
Someone tell me how this works. Actually, I am personally thinking of focusing this on academic integrity.
Okay.
So I did a presentation of fake news for a group of about 40 students who were in China, and I showed them two slides. One that came from ChatGPT and one that came from the search engine. And I think rather than telling them don't use ChatGPT, if you can explain to them where they can use ChatGPT and only where they can use ChatGPT, I think it is creating a better leverage. So I tell them, use ChatGPT if you want to understand the concept, much like Wikipedia. We all use Wikipedia in the first point, okay? We will not reference Wikipedia, but I think Wikipedia gives us that basic idea. I was looking at a concept yesterday called sonorism in music, and I had absolutely no idea what it is. I went to Wikipedia and Wikipedia explained to me very well what the concept was. So your first point of reference would be ChatGPT. However, you then get keywords from ChatGPT and then you go and search for them, maybe in Google Scholar or through your search engines. So ChatGPT will provide you the keywords. ChatGPT will provide you the basic understanding. ChatGPT very strongly says, I do not have any citations.
Okay.
That would help.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is, can you share the free websites which will help librarians use it? I think they meant for academic
Professional development, is
knowledge.
it? Yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
I can definitely add some things to it. But if you large organizations, large international organizations, okay, American Library Association, the largest one, CILIP, Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals, or maybe even a mailing list like just mailing groups. And they constantly have these things. If you just look at CILIP is one thing where they have these free webinars. They keep coming every month. Like the one that I did on reflective writing, there is one happening every month for the next 6 months, I think. So you could attend any one that's convenient to you. The thing what I normally do is when you register through Eventbrite and you put it in your calendar, so there isn't a chance that you would forget it. So that's how I normally work. Sometimes we would think that's what I was talking about. Sometimes I would think, it's actually my lunch break. Why should I spend my lunch break listening to a webinar? Now that is your choice. Obviously, 30 days in a month, if you can forego 1 hour, 1 day to listen to a webinar, the other 29 days you are having lunch with your colleagues.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So I think it's basically a concept of individual motivation. It's also to consider how much time you allow yourself to add to these things. It's also whether you think that this is professionally necessary. The first thing is to change our mindset into believing, like I said, you will not get paid for everything. When I worked in India at Xavier's, I volunteered to do a number of events. So I did the graduations, I did the annual days, I did lots of these events. I didn't get paid for it. However, the experiences that I gained helped me to become a professional event planner, or helped me to do lots of professional things. So remember, it is not always the money that you will get, but the experiences you will gain, strengthening your own knowledge base.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there are no other questions. Just a second, ma'am. I'll just check.
Yeah, sure.
No, ma'am, there are no other questions. but I would like to know about this reflecting writing which you talked about, ma'am. Can you share the link with us so that we can also... Hello?
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, am I?
Okay. Ma'am,
Yeah.
I wanted to know about this reflecting writing thing. So if you can
Yes,
share
I
the
can.
link with us.
Surely, I can share the link. It's on the SILIP website, and I will share the link. The concept in the UK is that a lot of dissertations are actually written in first person as reflections, which was a very different concept for me, because I always thought that research was based on what other authors had written and not
Right,
what
ma'am.
I had lived through. However, we call them ethnographies or autoethnographies, and it speaks about your own research. So things like this have the concept of reflective writing. So to look back and think what happened, why it happened, and so what did you do, and then how did you evaluate it. This is also the concept in an interview question, for example. So normally if we ask an interview question, say explain when you had a challenging situation at work and how you overcame it, you would talk about it in that reflection. So this was the thing that happened, so then this is what I had to do, and then this is what happened, and then this was the outcome. So it is always a process of reflection, and I think these concepts are taught to children in school itself. So the examination system here in the schools is also different. So it's always logical, so it's always reflective and logical.
Thank you,
But
ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, there are no other questions, but Manisha Parab is saying that in their organization, they have the CPD at all levels.
yeah, I would like to have a chat with
Manisha
those who
Parab.
spoke. Manisha
Parab.
Parab. Okay. Hi, Manisha. Can you share with us what sort of CPD you have?
Hi, Janice. This is Manisha Parab here. I'm working with Indian Register of Shipping, and we are getting certified for ISO 9001, ISO 14000, ISMS, so all those. So all these ISO 9000 and requirement forces you basically that you are supposed to do the continuous professional development.
Yes.
So that is the reason why we are mostly attending these webinars, seminars. We are going for various training.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is the way we are trying to develop ourselves, basically.
That is a wonderful
Also, suppose if
concept.
I attend a seminar or a webinar or some training, when I come back again, we have a knowledge sharing session, which we have it twice in a year. So that way, even my colleagues, or if they go, they come and share with me. So this is how we are doing it, the knowledge sharing session. Even while doing during on the job training, suppose you get stuck up and then you go to YouTube or you go to Google, you learn something new. So that also we are sharing among ourselves so that they also get developed along with me. The same is the case with respect to feedback. You talked about the feedback. We have a feedback form in Google in MS Outlook basically, and this is shared with the users, and users can register their feedback. This feedback is analyzed once in a year, and accordingly we improve our services basically.
What I would
So, I mean,
suggest is maybe if the feedback was analyzed more frequently,
that
that
will be
would help.
starting now. What we
Yes,
do is
yeah.
every 15 days we go and check whether any feedback has been received or not. If there is a negative feedback, then we have to take the action immediately. If it is positive, then we don't take the action immediately.
That's what we sadly do, isn't it? We don't celebrate success. We don't celebrate success. In one of my recent meetings, we are actually at UWL, we are just in the process of setting out the operational plan. So we are in the process of putting out the operational plan of the library will be in tune with the operational plan of the university. But one of the things that was my personal thing that I stressed on is that we don't celebrate success.
That is true.
And
That is true.
success doesn't have to be measured as big things, or doesn't have to be something which you don't have a benchmark for celebrating success. To every individual, success means different things, isn't it? But it is something that motivates us to go on. So I think it is important that we celebrate success.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But that normally you would tend to celebrate with your colleagues. Like when we do some good job, we just, order something and then we enjoy among ourselves.
Yes,
It is not at the
absolutely.
organization level, basically.
Yeah, but I think all of these things then don't get documented. When we do things informally, they don't get documented. If you document it somewhere, no matter what it is, maybe you have like a library annual report or something and start adding things to it.
No, in our organization, we have Smita garu, pick up karna. In our organization, we have all this online. Like for the CPD, we have a platform wherein we are supposed to put in the data there.
Okay. But
And whether it was
is always
effective or
good
not.
to, that's
The
true.
same is the case with the knowledge sharing session. We have to
Mhm.
document it. Even the
Yeah, there
feedback,
you
we
go.
keep it for 3 years and then later on we discard it.
Absolutely. You are doing most of the things, I think, at a which
Yeah,
is
I mean, when I
at
listened to your talk, I felt, like, good, we are following all these things
yes,
that the UK
absolutely.
libraries are following. So we were at least I was happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see that I have my colleague Parita in the audience, and I would definitely
Hi,
like to.
Jenny.
Hi,
How are you?
Parita. I'm good, thank you.
Hi.
Would like to hear from you, Parita, about your website, because I have looked at the websites of a number of organizations, and I found that you've done so much of work with your website. I think you did a lot of work during COVID, and I think that all the work you did not really require any money, more time and effort and talent. So it would be nice to hear from you about that.
Janice, thank you very much for this appreciation. But from my side, I feel that I have just tried to reach my students. That was my motto, that anyway, in whatever capacity I can do, I have to do and I must do. So that was my motto, and I have just followed my instinct that yes, this in COVID period, this is the way we can reach out the students. And slowly, as I get interest, as I enter into that field, that IT also, I learned so many things during that period that yes, this also we can use. And I applied all the IT applications, and I tried to reach out the students through that feedback also, that what they want during this period. And on the basis of that feedback, I have tried to satisfy their demands. That's all.
Absolutely.
I think whatever we are doing, many times I say thanks for all those who appraise me, but still I feel we are not doing anything extra. I think we are doing our duties only. Whenever we do our duties honestly, so sometimes we get appreciation, but we should try and we should give more and more to our students, because by God's grace, we are in such a position that we can help our students. They are looking at us. Specifically during exams, specifically when they are not getting anything from anywhere, they are looking at us. So I think we should use that opportunity, that yes, we can also play a major role in their career. We can also play a major. It's not that they want guidance only for the career, because now if you come to our library, there are many medical students who are sitting here who are preparing for NEET. There are many UPSC students who are sitting here, they are preparing for a preliminary for their exams. Means we can do a lot community services also. So we should not stick to our library, and keeping in mind the broader aspect of our librarianship, I have tried to give the maximum to the community and to my institution.
Absolutely.
And we all should do, and I think all are doing in their own way.
That's true. But I specifically wanted to hear from you because I remember during COVID, I have directed a master's degree student to your website for information which we couldn't access anywhere else. However, you had provided the links to the ebooks and you had made it so much easy. So not only did your users benefit, but my users benefited from your website as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think
Okay,
these are the bits
Yes,
that we have to document, isn't it? These are the things
yeah,
that
definitely. But what even I have experienced that we librarians are doing a lot work, but we are we are lacking from the point of view of proper documentation. Because whatever we do, we are doing for the institute, for the teachers, for the students. But what we feel that it is our duty, but whatever we do, we have to document it. Then only we can show to our institute, to our higher authorities that yes, we are there, we are working, and we are useful. So it is one type of marketing. I think the documentation will play a major role in marketing ourselves.
absolutely
We are there. So all must be, they must feel our presence, and they will feel our presence with the by the way of our reporting only. You rightly said that yes, and we must be strong enough in documentation, I feel, because now in NAC, now I'm the IQAC coordinator also. So now I can understand the real purpose and the real objective of documentation and how important it is, at least specifically for the NAC preparation. It's very important.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I have someone on the chat who's been asking for my contact details. So I am going to leave my email address and happy to have interactions with any of you. I have also seen somebody talk about information literacy. One of the things that I have found more strongly in the UK is in academic libraries. This concept of information literacy as a lifelong skill is very much important. So I have to go to every single class in a semester and make sure that I have done one lecture with them. And I don't know how strong this concept is back in India, but this is the stuff that we document and this is the evidence that we provide, and every student should have met me at some point of time. So it's not just that you, of course I do have students who come to me 2 days before submission as well. You will always get people on both ends of the spectrum. However, this is one of those things in place. So I would like to hear from anyone else if you do organize information literacy sessions in your workplaces, or how you organize these or how you do these.
Yes, we do organize. I have been organizing for our students, PG students, PhD students, and for teachers. And I also have sort of small games where they can, use a lot of books, resources from the internet. They can get the informations. Not many things we have throughout the year. We are doing some or the other thing. The library is always happening. I must say that.
Absolutely. Our presence for the student starts from the induction. So induction is a large process. I have like over, I think, 5,000 students who will be in. We begin inductions from the 18th of September, and we will have groups of students come in, and me or somebody from the library will talk to every single group throughout the first 2 weeks. So we will give them this basic information about where the things are, what's available. This is, of course, besides all the information that's available on the website. And then when they actually start classes, normally between the 2nd week and 4th week of teaching is when we are given a 2-hour slot. we talk to the lecturer and figure out which timing works best, but you will go to class and do so. Actually, starting right from the level 4, we call it level 4, which is like your first year. So first year, second year, and third year, every year we will go to class and do something for them. The postgraduates is totally different. So we have what is called the graduate school, and I will have different sessions with PhDs and MPhil students. We have a concept here of MPhil students who after 2 years can proceed to PhD or can stay on and complete the MPhil. So it's a different thing. So when they have that transfer between MPhil and PhD is when they need the library the most, and they will be asking me for multiple slots to guide them with their referencing at that point.
Ma'am,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Pandit would like to say something.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am. It's a very nice and enlightening session. I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
How Indian librarian can approach for the funding agency in UK for their research work? Like in India, we have major or minor project for academic requirement. So if as an Indian librarian approach, how we can, which way we can?
The first thing is, as librarians, where we are very good in research, so to scan the internet and see where funding opportunities are available. I know that there are a number of agencies which give funding for Commonwealth fellows, Commonwealth countries. So you could avail of those. Of course, there is also this what you call this fellowship of the Commonwealth, where you can come for 6 months to the UK. I know a number of Indians who would come that way as well. But for funding, we have the Arts Council. So libraries in the UK, predominantly public libraries, come under the Arts Council, and the Arts Council has got money which they give to people for projects. You have to have a project idea ready before you would go and look for organizations. So my suggestion to anyone who is thinking about funding is to first create your project. And when I say project, when I did this project, it was called the Roehampton Kaleidoscope. And I had the project ready. I had the budgeting ready. So I actually knew how I was budgeting. I was budgeting for English social cafes, and I was budgeting for tea and coffee and biscuits in that cafe. So I went down to the level of budgeting everything. How much money do you need for flip charts? How much money do you need for markers? What do you need to buy in terms of stationery, in terms of something, in terms of multilingual books? So basically, for the Urdu speaking women who wanted to learn English, I went to a book distributor and I bought multilingual children's books, which had Urdu on one page, on English translation on the other page. So very simple book. So to find all of this, and then I spoke to the book distributor, I negotiated a discount, I put all that in my project. A project has a much better chance of getting sanctioned when you are very clear with your objectives. You actually make it like a proper research proposal. So what are your objectives? How you're going to work around it? So I had a plan of like different weeks, and I was going to do different things in it. So I had roped in the NSS, who was going to talk to women about various health issues, various issues that were prevalent at that time. So I had put everything into it. There was also the cultural aspect. There was also the celebration aspect. So they were at the end of the English classes, there was going to be a day when they were going to celebrate with food and fun and those sort of things. So if you document everything, then the chances of you getting the funding sanctioned is more. But Arts Council, I know, is one thing. British Council also, I think, gives funding. CILIP gives funding. CILIP has got things. I saw something in IFLA, I think. There are a number of things, but if you just Google funding opportunities, if you send me an email, I'm happy to look through and send you some links as well. So definitely, no worries.
Okay, thank you so much, Janice ma'am.
No
It was a
worries.
wonderful session. There is my last question, and after that we'll
Yeah, sure.
conclude the session. Yeah. So, do you share free open education resources to your users? If yes, so which platform you are using to share these e-resources to your students? Free open educational resources.
What we share, whatever what we have done is actually anything that the user wants to search is made available through one search engine. So we have incorporated all our open access into the subscribed, and everything is available through one search. So on that lip search, if you search for a database called JSTOR, you will get a link that takes you through it. If you search for a search term called music education, it will give you many resources. Some of those resources are subscribed, some of those are open access. The user is more interested in the content rather than knowing whether you paid for it. So our concept is just make it available to the user with minimum clicks. So that's how we put. So we have a team of content, and they constantly keep putting in open access to it. But we also have a journal as well. So we have New Vistas, which is our own publishing, and we have our academics publishing their research as well, and that's all open access as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now I would like to request Shubhangi Vedak ma'am kindly propose the vote of thanks. Shubhangi ma'am, over to you.
Good evening, friends. After listening to Dr. Janice Fernandez, I would like to say she is the wow librarian. Thank you so much, and it was indeed a wonderful event. Thank you, Dr. Janice, for sharing your experience as a librarian in UK and giving us an insight into acquiring job as librarian in UK libraries. Not only this, but your presentation right from educational qualifications required, writing applications, facing interviews, induction to new entrants, roles and responsibilities, keeping your job as librarian happening, motivating library users. It was very much informative and interesting. Your thoughts have really enlightened our minds and shown us a new path. I like what you said that if you do not grow, you will stagnate. I think this applies to all of us in India too. If you need to stay in your job now, you must be on your heels. Also, the key lessons that you shared with us were amazing and have definitely helped us take away so much from this session. Friends, you all will agree with me that at the very beginning, when Professor P.K. Mishra said related libraries to wicked people, which is also a very important place. But however, Dr. Janice related librarians to that, I would say, rather opening that. And this shows that how passionate she is about her job as that, and thus we should create our identity as that such that we are the best in the field and are indispensable. Professionals like Dr. Janice are keen and are taking great efforts to take librarianship to greater heights, and we must be grateful to them and be inspired from them. I'm sure the participants have enjoyed this event and will make best use of this webinar. I would like to thank all the participants for their active participation and positive contribution during this webinar, making this webinar a great success. Once again, my heartfelt thanks to our today's guest, speaker, Dr. Janice Fernandez, who has spent her easiest time gracing this occasion. I would like to thank Professor P.K. Mishra and the entire team of Kohinoor Education Trust and BKC Knowledge Network members. And a special thanks goes to Jayashri and Kulji for this thoughtful topic. And also on behalf of all of us, I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to Sushma Karnik ma'am for her enthusiasm, encouragement, kind support, and guidance in making this event a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for those kind words. I hope to keep in touch with many of you, and I have shared my email address, so please write to me, and I'm happy to have more interaction. All the very best for an exciting and wonderful future ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.